Wanted to move on to Mary Melfi and Steve Peter, who are going to talk about voting by mail.
Well, thank you for having us. I think that at this point, most folks are acquainted with voting by mail, if only by the hearsay of what's going on in the news right now. Um, in New Jersey, you can vote by mail simply by applying for it, so that you don't necessarily have to give a reason for why you're voting by mail. And you can vote by mail for a single election, or you can sign up and do all future elections, which is something convenient if you're, say, going to be away every year for the general election. You're going to be in Florida or something like that. You can automatically have the ballot sent to your vacation home in Florida. Um, the main thing is we want to make sure that we send that ballot to your preferred address. So make sure that if you do sign up to vote by mail and you do choose the all future election option, that you keep that up to date with our office. And this is important not only for retirees, but also for student voters, because the chances are you're not going to be in the same dorm room for 4 years, and you may not even be in the same room for two consecutive elections. So keep us up to date if you do move and you still want to have that vote by mail ballot.
And the thing that to add to that is if you don't keep your records up to date, you can end up making yourself inactive. So the other thing with the vote by mail is we require a wet signature. The application must be completed, and some it can be, some of the parties, both of the parties and voter groups are out there sending out pre-populated vote by mail applications, which have been coordinated with the Secretary of State's office. But at the end of the day, the voter still needs to sign that application. There's always questions about how do I know that that it's secure? And there's a process within the county clerk's office that each application is scrutinized to make sure your date of birth responds to your name and your address, that your signatures match. And, if for some reason something happens, Beth will get into it. By the way, I just want to correct you, Nancy. I don't mean to, and it's just because I'm so proud
No,
to
no,
work with
please.
her, but Beth is from Hunterdon. Okay. She's fine. I want to get the credit for her. But anyway, there's a yin and a yang. There's a cross reference on a vote by mail. I'm not the be all on a vote by mail. Steve isn't the be all. There's another checkpoint. One of the things that our offices are having trouble with is signatures. I signed everything with a pen. I didn't go to a digital pen pad. And for those of you that have been to a store and signed your name on a pen pad, you know that if I looked at that and looked at your signature on a piece of paper, they're not going to match. So you may get a call that your signature doesn't match, and that's another check. And again, I'll let Beth get into it on her end, but I'm talking about our end of the office. And I think Steve will give you some really strong advice on how you return that ballot, right, Steve?
Yes. So the as of the last voting cycle, most of the counties have drop boxes throughout the county. Not in every municipality. That's a myth that's been put out there, but they are in areas of larger population. And all the counties have a list of their drop box locations. I've got it on my mobile app. I strongly recommend that you use those drop boxes or return it to the Board of Elections, and bypass the post office. Just because the post office has gotten increasingly slow in delivering the mail. They've revised their service standards, and it's gone now from what they claim was 3 days to something like 2 weeks. And I've been seeing it here locally. So I would advise you to use the drop boxes. Now, the drop boxes are something that have been in the news with security in the drop boxes and the possibility of malice going on there. So the drop boxes that we use in New Jersey have a very small opening. You basically can only put your ballot in there. So if you think you're going to go put a firecracker in there, it's not going to fit. Um, and all the drop boxes are under video surveillance. So that's something that the security of those, all of the election officials in New Jersey take very seriously.
And in addition to voting by mail, I want to mention two other ways. Somebody on this Zoom may have somebody in the military or have somebody overseas. You could have a child that's fortunate enough to go study in Spain for the year, and they want to vote. So there's a web address. It's https://www.fvap.gov. If you log on to that website and you say you want to vote, it will take you to the state that you're from and you can walk through. And the one thing about the overseas and in particular the military, under New Jersey law, they have the right to vote by email. So they would come in and they would apply, and we would email them a ballot. The ballot would, of course, get returned to the board. It is an open ballot because it obviously comes back email and somebody sees the ballot. And for those of you at home that are like living in Clinton and would much rather like to email your ballot, please don't try it because there is a checklist to find out if you're really in Spain, okay? So anyway, that's an option. And the other thing is what we see happening is unexpected medical issues. You end up in the hospital, and you've missed the vote by mail deadline, you've missed the early voting deadline. You may send a messenger to my or to any county clerk's office where you're registered to vote. And that messenger must be a registered voter and or a family member. And they will come in, you complete the application. You would authorize them to be your messenger. They would bring the ballot in. They would have to show ID. We'd have to verify them, and we would give them a ballot to take to you.